We have to go back in time to the winter of 2009, and I just started at the museum, and that's where, behind closed doors, sort of some questions began to arise. Well, so the Morgan is being restored from the waterline to the keel. She'll be stronger than she's been in a century. Would we consider taking her downriver? And if not, why not? And if not now, when? So that sort of became our mantra. And I approached two individuals who've been here a long time, and both of them literally got teary-eyed with the idea. You know, sort of, they would lean forward and say, "Really? Is that possible?" And I said, "Well, I don't know if it's possible, but don't you think we should consider it?" As Susan Funk would say, the question is often asked by visitors, "Hey, how come you don't sail this thing?" And so the museum for a long, long time has had to say, or by necessity, well, she's no longer seaworthy, so we can't take her to sea. And the best thing the museum can do for her is to have her here in the security and safety of Mystic Seaport, and conserve her in the best way we can, restore her when we can and when we can afford to. But no, we're not taking her back to sea. It was this restoration, however, where she presented this opportunity to us, because this, again, restoration was to be from the waterline to the keel, the first time she'd ever been restored in that area. So up until 2008 and 9, she'd been floating on her original 1841 bottom. That in itself is amazing, her original bottom. One of the museum principles we did not want to violate was to replace more of her original fabric than would be required for her to continue to exist as a museum object. What we learned was, in these early stages of restoration, is that she was in better shape in some areas than we thought, and in worse shape in some other areas. What's remarkable is that the virtual backbone of the ship, her keel, what are called the naval timbers, the vertebrae of the ship, almost all of that is still in her today. So she'll go back to sea on her original keel, the keel that was laid in 1841. A lot of kids say, "Look, Mom and Dad, look, it's the Ark." Because she looks like when she was out of the water before the scaffolding was put around her, she just looked like a big old Ark. And at one point there was a ladder that went up to a hole that was in her bottom, where we were taking planks and things up through this port. And it kind of looked like a ladder where the animals 2x2 would go up into the Ark. And then she was covered by plastic 2 winters ago, and she looked like it was a cocoon. And then it came off, and the butterfly emerged. And she was launched last summer in what I think is one of the proudest days for the museum. I think it's going to hit us. It's one of those things, when she slips away from the dock on May 17th, I think that's when we're going to say, wow, it's really happening. But yeah, that was, I think, more than anything, that moment was, look at what these shipwrights have been able to do. They have taken her apart, documented every single component that came out of her, and put her back together. And as Quentin Seneca would say, to most people, she looks just the same as she did before, but we know that internally she's as strong as she's ever been.
Is it a brilliant or crazy idea, taking a national historic landmark, the last remaining?
I wouldn't call it, I would say it's neither brilliant nor crazy. It's the right thing to do. It's what a great museum, a leading museum like Mystic Seaport must do if we are to help the public understand our maritime history as fully and completely as as they should. Again, we're presented with this opportunity. We really must seize it. The easy thing to do would just to take her back to Chubb's Wharf. That's what she's really good at that, and we're really good at it, of interpreting her in that way. But we must have the courage to complete the big idea. So here's a circumstance where this prized museum object, let's say it was a chair that George Washington sat in, say. Would you ever let anybody sit in that chair again? Maybe not. But let's say that in order for the chair to continue to exist, it needed 2 new legs. Well, maybe you would in that circumstance, since it had been restored partially. Maybe you would let someone sit in it. In this case, for a ship, if her integrity has been restored, why wouldn't you let the ship do what the ship was intended to do, which is sail?